Hey everyone, my name is Jason Filer. I'm here today to talk to you about the tag of this arrangement of Maybe This Time. This was arranged by Hine, and the performance that I transcribed was a performance by Sweet Life from this past international varsity competition at the International Convention. It's an incredible performance. I'd recommend go checking that out. It's in the description here, as well as an interview with the quartet Sweet Life and some other videos of theirs, as well as various links to their website, social media, things like that. So, let's talk about this ending here, this last line. This is all well and good, but let's talk about this right here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start right here. So we have here this little thing, this little swipe they like to call it, where chords move around. It's one of my favorite parts of barbershop, where the inner voices will move, or really anyone will move, and then some people won't, and the whole chord will change drastically just based on, these very slight movements. Like, the bass is holding this whole time. This might not be in the music, but it was sort of, he moved a little before to get to the next note, but let's not worry about that for now. So the tenor and bass basically stays the same the whole time. The baritone only moves in half steps. The lead moves in a whole step and then a half step. And yet we go from A minor to F7 to D7, which are not very close together in terms of like harmonic relationships. Maybe the A minor to D7 makes a lot of sense. It's a 2-5. A minor is the minor 2, D7 is the dominant 5, and then it wants to go to G major, which it does. But then we have this F7 in the middle, which it makes it just sounds a little bit cooler going into the D7, because you have this other whole set of tension that wants to be released in the form of the G major after that. And it just works so well because it just goes right to it. It flows so nicely. It's a great, awesome technique. There's so many ways to even voice this exact chord progression. This could all be flipped around, moved all over the place, so it's just really awesome. Let's go here now. So this is a pretty cool thing. It doesn't happen very often in barbershop, but it's definitely there. The bass here pretty much just stays on the same note, the G this entire time. And then the top three voices move triadically. So they have this G major triad in first inversion because the bass has the root. And then they move up to an A flat major triad, and then an A major triad, and then a B flat major triad, and then they skip B because that wouldn't really work with the G that's being held, and go up to C. It's a wonderful sound. It really just sort of increases the drama of the whole thing by a little bit every time. They get a little bit louder, more energetic, more into it. It's a great way to add something like this to the end of the arrangement, and it's also the way they performed it really adds to the whole effect of this build and build and build until this big post here on the G, and especially this big C major chord here with the G and the bass, which is very cool. So after we hit this C chord, actually let's talk about this. So I would maybe analyze these as G major, A flat major 7 with the major 7 being in the bass, A7 with the dominant 7 being in the bass, G minor 7 in A version of root position because the G's in the bass, that same chord again, and then C major with the doubled fifth. So that's pretty much whenever there's a major triad with the fifth in the bass, you're either going to have the fifth or root doubled almost pretty much 100% of the time. So that's sort of what's going on here. And then we go down to this one where the bass has the bass is this little going up moment, arpeggiated thing, and then instead of going up to the root, he lands on the second, which makes for this really, really cool C add 9 chord. If you watched the analysis from last week, from the Praxis video, you'll know all about the add 9 chords. Not super common, but a really awesome sound, especially here when it really wants to go to the C, but it just delays it a little bit to make it really interesting. And then from there, we have this just perfectly good C major triad right here that then goes to this E flat major triad. Really awesome sound, and it really leads well into this ending section where we're going to end in G major. That's going to happen. So how do we get there? Well, we're at C. We're probably going to have a minor 4, so it's probably going to be C minor of some sort. So how do we get from C major to C minor? Well, we could just have been on this note here, and then tenor goes down to A, the baritone goes down to E flat, and then we resolve here. But there's a little bit of time that's taken here. We end on this E flat major triad before we get to that whole thing, and then we have this extremely common but super, super awesome and well-known, well-documented sound in the barbershop world where you have the lead is posting on the root, this in this case being G, and then the baritone, which is going to eventually be on the fifth, stays in the flat six here, and then we have the the tenor and bass moving in opposite directions. In this case, the bass is going up from the 2 to flat 3 to 4, A, B, flat C. The tenor is doing the exact opposite of that. That ends up with this wonderful little C minor 6 chord, or you can think of it as A half diminished 7. I like to think of it as C minor 6, not just because the C is in the root, but I just like to think of it as a 4 to 1 motion instead of some sort of 2 half diminished to 1. But that's sort of up to interpretation. So what's cool about this is that we have this first chord, which is much more of a half diminished sound because the A is in the bass. And then since the E flat stays the same, and then the bass and tenor both sort of meet on this octave B flat, we now have another one of these, the same E flat major triad. So it's this half diminished sound, major triad, half diminished sound, and then major triad. But the major triads are much different. So that's a really cool sound. It's used very, very commonly in barbershop, especially at the very end of tags. It's very nice to sing. I'm not sure everything there. Nice to sing, nice to tune, and they did a wonderful job performing it. So that's all I have to say about this. Hope you've enjoyed this little analysis video. Again, if you haven't seen them perform it, I'd highly recommend it. Go watch the video in the description. And if you like the group, you want to hear what they're like outside of their performances, go check out the interview I did with them. It was an awesome time. And if you like that, there's more of that came from on my series called The Afterglow. I have a few videos out already, and I think you'd really enjoy them, so feel free to check them out. Thanks for watching this, and hope you have an incredible day. See you next time.